In this video, we'll talk about containers versus images, Docker networking, and Docker installation.
So we will get started. So what we really do is we have a Docker client to interact with the Docker. We have a Docker daemon, which in the background. We have something called Docker Registry, Docker Hub, or AWC ECR to store images. Images are nothing but the read-only templates for creating containers. Containers are running instance of images, and volumes are persistent storage for containers. Okay. So container versus image, as we see that, okay, this is a template, and then using this template, you can create multiple Docker containers. So what will practically happen is that you containerize your application, you test it out, you do everything on that, and then you create a Docker image out of it. Now everyone in your team can simply go and pull that Docker image and create a Docker container for themselves, right? So this is very lightweight. It is not like a virtual machine image. VM images are larger in size, so that is why they are not so handy. So a typical example is that my service was running on server A. Now I have to move it on server B. If I had to do this by the way of VM images, it would take a lot of time, a lot of network bandwidth, and so on. So that's why it was not practical. But Docker images, it becomes a matter of seconds or minutes. We also have two editions of Docker: Community Edition, Enterprise Edition. Again, we will have different editions for different operating systems. Obviously, in a Enterprise Edition, you will get more features, more support, etc., etc. One more thing that will come is Docker networking. So basically, the same example where you have different Dockers working on containers working on your system. Then how do they communicate with each other, right? Because they are now a separate, you have put them in separate boxes. So how does your HTTP service communicate with your MySQL service? Suppose you had a website in which you have to fetch the data from database. How will that happen? So for that, we need networking. So again, there are 4 modes. This part we will see a bit later. Installing a Docker, as I told you, CentOS, RHEL, and above, no direct support. So you might try to do this, but I will recommend that you straight away move to Ubuntu. Okay, that will be easy for now. For Debian and Ubuntu, you will do an apt update, AP install CA certificates and curl, and then you will download the GPG key, and then you can add this latest Docker repository and install it. Okay, so, and I think simply doing a apt update or install Docker will also do it. These steps might be just additional steps. So Docker version you will get from here. So one difference that I have seen already is that suppose I go on CentOS and try to run this command, this will not work. Okay, so in CentOS 8 and above or RHEL 8 and above, they are not using Docker as a daemon. So that is why you might get some unknown behaviors if you are using that. But this is a starting of Docker. You can start it, enable it.
Subscribe to our channel for the next part, where we'll talk about Docker commands.